thank you for joining us on Wednesday, July 26th for our Platform Analytics Academy session. Today's session is focused primarily on Q&A. We are here to answer any and all questions that you have. We do ask that you put them in the Q&A panel, as it's a little bit easier to get through such a large group of folks when we have ongoing questions and stuff. But we are here to answer any and all questions that you may have. I am going to remind you that these sessions are for you. We are recording them. They will be posted on our community channel shortly after these sessions are completed. And again, please use the Q&A. If we need to maybe further ask any additional questions or get clarity on some of the questions that come in, we will ask you to come off mute. I know most of you aren't shy, so we're excited about, always excited to actually talk to you. A reminder again, there may be things that pop up during this conversation that are forward-looking statements. We ask that you don't make any investments, make any business decisions based off of anything that we share with you today that may answer a question that you have about an upcoming release or anything along those lines. And we do have a great panel of folks with you today. We do have myself. I'm Tara Fisher. I've been working in the Platform Outbound team for a few years now. Most of you already know me because I used to host the PAC sessions, and I'm really excited to be here talking with you again. We also have Dan Kane joining us, Adam Stout, our fearless leader, and Thomas Davis, who's usually the person who's talking to you, but we decided to give him a break because he talks all the time and he deserves a day off every once in a while. He is here, though, to answer any questions, so that's fabulous. And we also have joining us our wonderful team from Amsterdam. Most of our reporting and analytics folks, developers, product managers, they all work out of our Amsterdam office, so it's always a special treat when we get them. It's pretty late in their day. They should be having a drink and some dinner right about now, so we're grateful to have them join us. This is Olga, Robert Jan, and Isak and Marta. We're always happy to have them. Don't see any questions coming in yet. So I do know that I'll let RJ kick this off by talking about this research panel that we want to start engaging folks in. So RJ, do you want to go ahead and come off mute and share with our customers kind of what we're looking for and what we hope to achieve by making this call out for assistance?
Absolutely. Can you hear me, Tara, before
yes,
we start?
Okay.
Absolutely. So in the intro slide, you might have seen this slide already pop by. Here it is again. If there's one thing, and I for those that I might have talked to actually in a maybe in a one-to-one conversation, or maybe as part of a design partner program or as part of the product advisory council, you'll hear me say that we are always looking into where we can learn more. And we need to learn, or we are continuously learning from your pain points, your challenges, your questions, the way how you want to use analytics in our product, but it's just not working. So therefore, we always say, please give us any feedback that you have. Tell us those challenges, because that feedback really matters, and it is truly shaping the product, as it says here, help shape the future. Specifically, we are also working together with our design experience team. There are many initiatives on where we want to connect, whether that is maybe something like a user research, or it is maybe doing something like just having conversations in terms of a design partner program, where we literally look at how we're actually building a certain solution, and would love to get your early feedback and your validation of these things. So long story short, this is a call out for more customers to be part of that initiative. And again, whether it's we call it the design partner program, where we just have a few conversations, I'd like to ask you to sign up if you'd like to. The form will give you a lot of options to tell what type of user you are, what type of profile user you are, what things you might be interested in, which gives us a lot of context on specifically targeting you for certain things that we're currently working on, or what we're thinking about in the near future. So with that being said, I hope that a lot of people will join, and hopefully we'll talk then in the near future.
Yeah, a lot of you get emails from me that say call for volunteers, and I'm usually looking for a couple folks to join us in these conversations with some of our designers. So this is just kind of a way to get around that. annoying email you get from me where I'm begging you guys. This is a new and interesting way to go about it, which I love. And I think, RJ, we will put this in the community as well.
Yep, we will.
Okay.
We'll put a post out there as well.
Great. So we do have a question that came in. Is there any way to share reports similar to responsive dashboards where you can control if the reports are shared with can only view the report or if they can edit the report? I think that's a Marta Olga.
Yeah, I can answer that. So for in the classic reporting, we don't have this precise control sharing. So it's based on your role. Like report roles, you will generally be able or not able to share reports that are shared with you. However, in the next experience, in the safety visualizations, we will provide or already providing the same level of control. So when in the coming releases, you will move to the next experience. There you will have full control that you can decide the specific users will be able to edit, the rest only view, or like you have a really exactly the same experience and control level as responsive dashboards.
And I'm going to add on to that as it comes through. We have challenges as every company does, that changing behavior is really hard because some people like it to work one way, some don't like it to work another way. And what do we change? So fixing something like this in the classic reporting responsive dashboards is really challenging on how do we get that and make something that changing sharing just has security ramifications. A lot of that stuff. It's really complicated. But as we implemented the next experience analytics and the new way of working for everything, this is one of the many things that got addressed to do it right from the beginning on how not how we thought you were going to do it 10 years ago, but how you actually do it now based on your feedback, based on questions like this. But we get talking to customers. So as we're moving to next experience analytics, which you could be using now and we'll all be moving to it in the future, this, along with many other things, have been addressed and simplified to match how you actually work today, how you want to work today.
Awesome. And Adam, since you're chatting, I'm going to let you take this next question on missed SLA. This is right up your alley. Is there a good solution for a missed indicator that is met when all SLAs, OLAs on the ticket are met and missed when any one SLA? Oh, I'm not sure. Muriel, we might need you to come off of mute and ask this question aloud because I think I'm fumbling it while I'm reading it. Can we take her off of mute, Thomas?
So, and as I'm looking at this, is this looking?
I just allowed her to talk. She should be able to talk.
Okay.
Hello. Yes.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah. So the question is, do we have the ability to add something, a field, and populate it on incidents and SCTASK, where if any one of the SLAs or OLAs that were triggered on that ticket was missed, then that indicator or flag basically would be missed or false,
Well,
whatever.
Yes, I'd say the answer is yes. How you do it's a little bit more challenging
Mhm.
on what you want, because where I read this initially is if I have an acknowledgement SLA, I have an assignment SLA, and I have a resolution SLA, right? I have multiple SLAs that come through.
Mhm.
And if I do understand if any breaches, then I want to flag on the incident there was an SLA breach.
Mhm.
I get that, but everything is either met or everything is either in progress, met, or breached, right? So do you expect to have, if I have 3 SLAs, 1 breaches, 2 are met, what do you want that to say?
If one breached, I would want the flag to show there was a breach.
If one, so any breach is a breach. So what we want to do is aggregate it, and any breach is a breach.
Exactly.
We ignore in progress. I would add a flag to incident and SCTASK or whatever you want to have. I would add a field to go has breached effectively. There actually might be one because we used to, in the olden days, before the SLA engine, that might have just been on the incident itself. And then
yeah, it was just the one.
Yeah, it's just the one, right?
Yeah.
There's a couple fields like that don't make any sense in the more sophisticated world we live in, but in 20 years ago, it was good. Anyway, so I would have is breached, has breached flag. yeah, that maybe it's true or false, or it's a not yet thing. And on the, I'd be looking for an event. There's, Isaac might know. There's got to be an event, or it's even an SLA. There's a flow trigger for SLAs, for SLA events. But I know there is a way to pick up when an SLA breaches, and basically any breach, I would add a new flow to that would go update the record that breached to set that flag to true. You'll never unset it. And that's going to make your reporting a lot easier, right? That simplified understanding of, hey, if anything breached, the incident breached, and I want to check that SLA attainment, I understand that the roll-up logic makes sense there, and I would just do it by materializing it with a flow sitting on the looking for that event.
Okay.
Someone did add in the chat that there's a field named has breached in the incident SLA table.
Right.
Yeah, but that's per SLA. So
Yeah.
that would tell you that acknowledged breached or or resolve breach, which is good. That's what you actually want to know to come down to it. But I can certainly understand at a higher level process owner to go, just are they breaching or not? Is anything breaching? And then you would drill in to go, which ones are breaching, right? Our assignments aren't in there. But from a customer perspective, I don't care. I need all three to be met.
Yeah, I've seen customers use that have breached field for that with that logic that you're talking about, to where it would just, if any of the SLAs breach, it just turns that flag on the incident record. But it's it's a pretty basic way to do it, but it can be done. But remember, because that is a legacy field that's just for the old SLA engine, so you can repurpose it.
Right. You're talking about the made SLA field, I think, on the incident.
On the incident itself, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So basically, I need to look for or identify the events that fires off when an SLA or OLA breaches, and then use that to trigger the flow on the
Yes.
tape. Okay.
Yeah, which probably, well, certainly is not a flow. It might be an old workflow or a business rule, or a script action. But I would create a flow to do that. I'm gonna not answer the next question, and I'm gonna look and see if I can find out what we're dropping when we do that. But it should be pretty straightforward to put in. And I think it's a great example where I appreciate in the question you didn't say, can we do this in reporting? Can we do it in PA? Because it's not something we want to do report time. It's something we're going to do with a flow and looking at the events that come in and fix the data, because then I can still put an indicator on that. I can still do it. I can use it in reports. I can flag an alert when I come look at it. I can send off another notification that comes through, right? And so we can take advantage of everything that ServiceNow has to offer by doing it on the incident record, on the service catalog item, and not trying to just report on it and be reactive. And not only reactive, I guess it's always going to be reactive, but be delayed, right? We're not going to notice that it happened until weeks or months later. By putting it in the field, we can then have flows do more affirmative things, right? And take action when they need to be there. It's one thing if you miss your SLA by 5 minutes. It's another if you miss it by 5 weeks.
True.
All right. Thank you.
So the question is relating to sharing reports in the next experience. Is there a way that we can restrict users from sharing with security groups? So generally, whenever you share, you can restrict users from seeing security group, then they will not be able to share. So whenever users have access to view any sysuser group, they will be able to share it with them. So there's no way currently to restrict. I'm curious, actually, why would you want to restrict? Because maybe.
And can we take Maggie off of mute? Let me see if I can do that really quick. Maggie.
I mean, I'll add when we talk about groups. So the groups, we're talking about setting the type, which is a list on the group field. And there are different types. They're very user configurable. And I think because they're so user configurable, there's very few places in your instance that will filter them. It does happen. I think like resource groups will be that way, but generally we share groups a lot. And while you may not do that, I don't think there's a general consensus of reporting groups should not be security groups, should not be resource groups, should not be entitlement groups. They're more like tags that they're this, but they can also be more things. And yeah, and in a lot of cases, you actually want to use the same group for security, for entitlement, for resource management, for whatever it comes through. Did we get Maggie?
Maggie is off mute. So Maggie, I don't know if
Oh.
you want to elaborate that on that for a bit more.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, we have because we don't want to any user to share with all the itil groups. We also have a security group that has most of the itil users, and now the Viz creator group has the ability to share with all those security that has itil groups. itil users, and we really don't want that. It's kind of like opening up and having everyone share their personal reports with everyone. So that's our issue.
So generally, it's also some practice, right? It's a bit different in Next Experience compared to the Classic. In the Classic, people would just share with everybody just in case, because to make sure that when they share dashboard, they don't have any issues with that, right? So it's kind of a habit of people to like share with all or whatever, they share with all the groups. It's also education, like in the Next Experience, like you don't have to share at all, like the visualization, unless you really want people to work on those visualization. Because once you add it to your dashboard, you can share a dashboard with whoever you want,
right.
And you're not gonna have this problem that like you cannot see report because it was not shared, or like visualization. So it's kind of some education. But I guess if you don't want people to share with groups the reports or visualizations, you also don't want them to share dashboards with groups as well, is it?
No, it's not an issue with that, but just security groups, they have way too many users, and people just don't want to add like the assignment groups and add individually, and they just say, okay, I'm going to share it with all ITILs. My report is so precious, or visualization is so good. Everyone can benefit, but they don't know that. No.
And the same thing comes into play if I have an all employees group, right? Or I have a North American employees group.
Correct.
Right. Where you're just, the concern here is that we're just oversharing.
Right.
And I think this is a great topic, because we have a lot of our product managers here about, I've heard this before as well, about how do we restrict who can be shared to? I know we've done it. It's been clunky when we've done it. There are ways of controlling, at least there were in Classic. I don't recommend them. We just had them in certain cases, but I think it's a great use case that to me, it's analogous to being able to put a macro into your email client that says, don't allow reply all, right? Don't allow reply all if there's over 1,000%. And I could certainly see something like, for normal users, don't allow sharing to groups with more than 100 people or something like that.
Right. Or if we can hide, like you said, that if we can hide those security groups,
specific group types. Well, so and you say security, but I'll go. It's something where you want to be able to tag it to say, don't allow this one, because it's all employees, it's all managers, or something like that. I don't have a great way of doing that today. Without the way that I would look at it is there's some UI macros to modify, which is a bad idea. And then there's a before, it's might be possible with some before query. If you can tell the context of where it's being called, you could do a before query business rule that would filter them out. But I haven't tested that. I barely thought about how you would do it, but it's might be possible. But and then I think the ultimate way we've done it is that data for responsive dashboards is stored in a table. You can actually put a business rule on that. It's pretty clunky and the experience is not good. But you could actually put a business rule on it that would prevent it from happening. But how the customer would know, how the user would know it wasn't happening, I don't know what that error would look like. But you could block the foolproof way of doing it is a business rule on report users groups, report users and groups and users. which is the sharing table, which would just simply not allow you to add that in there unless you had like dashboard admin or something to that effect.
Okay. Yeah. That's what we want. We are dashboard admin, but individual users, they should not be able to share with.
Yeah. So you could do that. You could do
group.
that, but you'd want to test what it looks like, because what might happen is that the user who shares it with that group, it just doesn't work. I don't know that it'd be caught gracefully. But that's.
Yeah, I have an idea submitted, so maybe
it's a good one. I think there is certainly a use case for that for all employees. I will say all of us at ServiceNow occasionally get those where somebody shared a dashboard, some random dashboard with everybody at the company. And it's just, especially the emails, we go, look who's new at the company.
All right. I think we have another question that Marta was going to answer live. Marta, would you take Susan's question?
Is there a plan to eventually deprecate reports, dashboards, and switch to the next experience UI workspaces? If so, when should we plan to finish migrating reports and dashboards to the new experiences?
What an excellent question, Susan.
Like I saw it, it's like, of course we are going to answer.
This is like the thing we talk about all the time. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
So yeah, we definitely want you to move to the next experience analytics, to the new capabilities that we are building, that we have built in the last few releases. You are going to be able to start the journey of moving to the next experience analytics from Washington, but we are going to give you, like, sometimes it's going to be into a deprecation process for the responsive dashboards, the reports, PA widgets, and so on. So you're going to have time for you to actually get comfortable with the new capabilities that we have done. Actually, everything is already being released from Tokyo onwards, so you can already play with it. And from Washington, we are going to give you the option to move to the next experience, to migrate your content, and to start using and leveraging all the new capabilities that we have delivered.
So let's talk about this for just a second, because I know RJ, myself, Marta, Adam, Dan, we were all talking about this just yesterday. One of the things that we haven't done a great job of explaining, and Susan, this is because you asked this question. We do have a lot of really cool new features in the next experience that as we're migrating over as a company, right, to this new next experience UI, we did a bunch of stuff for reporting and analytics within that space versus doing it in the, I guess what we would call classic, what our classic reporting and analytics workspace was, where we made all these great new enhancements, things that you guys have been asking for a really long time. We've made all those enhancements. And so what we would almost recommend now is, if you haven't had an opportunity to play with it, turn it on. Create anything net new, anything that new requests that you have, start getting yourself familiar with it. Take, I think there's a couple small training. It's not intense. This team has done an amazing job of making it pretty easy to follow. So if you are comfortable with performance analytics, you're going to find this next experience even easier to use. So play with it. Start building new stuff, start poking around with it. Send us your feedback, obviously, especially as we're getting into that part where we're going to ask you to migrate and move your content over. We will get to a point where that's, like Marta said, is not going to be an option. So now is the time. Play with it, see all the cool new things, get excited about it. Let us know what you think. And that slide that I had up with the QR code, this is for that exactly, so that we can get your feedback, so we can and make things the way they should be for you. So we're really excited about it. We have, kind of showed you, Olga's done demos, Dan's done demos, Marta, everybody's done demos of what's in the new experience and kind of how to use it. But we really haven't done a great job of telling you that it's super cool. And there's like all this really cool new functionality there that you didn't have before, that you've always wanted. So please play with that.
And Tara, if I can quickly just add to that,
Please do, yeah.
I wanted to talk. I was on the edge of my seat. The this is and anything that Marta and you just mentioned is correct. And yes, we are continuously looking into getting more feedback and validation whether the route that we're taking is the right one for you to learn what's over there, to get familiar what's over there, but also get a good feeling as you will be moving your own content over there. One of the things that I was thinking of as a start, because indeed, like you mentioned, Tara, there are so many things over the last, I guess, year or so that we showed individually that all make part of this larger thing, this thing that we call for example, the platform analytics experience, where everything comes together and suddenly you will be using all these new things in all together. And so one of the things that I was thinking about was, let's maybe also do a platform academy session. It might not be like in 2 weeks already, but soonish, where we again sort of paint that picture as in, hey, this is the whole thing together. And once you start opting into that next experience, this is the way how we think you will be working, and this is how you can utilize all those things that we brought. And I can name a few, but I would probably not do justice to all the things, because there are, like, to the smallest detail things changed indeed what we learned from ideation, from conversations like this, that we immediately fixed, maybe on a chart level, on indicator level, on data in general, on dashboard level. And then in that session, we can sort of break it all down. We start with the top as in, hey, this is the whole thing, and then break it down into these are all the things that are coming as well. So I guess to just follow up on that, we'll plan a session. I'll work with Thomas on that to have something soonish,
Yes.
to just basically recap all those things that we talked about individually over the last year or so, and paint the picture how we're moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you, RJ. I think that's a great idea. Dan, I'm going to ask you to take Deandra's question. You offered to take that one live, so do you mind doing that?
Not at all. When a ticket gets reassigned, the SLA restarts. Is this how it's supposed to work? So, and then seems that you can get around SLAs by just continuously reassigning. That is actually a setting within the SLA definition itself. You can specify within the SLA whether or not you want the clock or the timer to restart when there is a reassignment, or you can set the conditions for when that should or should not happen. So what I would do is definitely want to take a look at the definition of the SLAs you've got that are being abused, because I can definitely see how that could easily be abused. It's like, oh no, the clock reset, we're good. But that is a setting on the SLA definition itself.
Well, we have another question that came in, Adam, that you were going to take. I think it was about the content blocks.
Yeah, so we're just talking about custom content blocks and Jelly and how to do some advanced work with those. I believe, well, I'm going to talk about those. Talk about Jelly and how to do some of those things. If you're looking to write custom visualizations, custom interactive filters, specifically, you're for responsive dashboards, we'll need to do those in Jelly. If you're looking at those, we have a blog on it. There's a lab on it. I hope that exists out there. We did a lab, I think in 2019 or 2020. It hasn't changed. But I will say this, as we're looking at responsive dashboards, there's a lot of work to do with Jelly. And basically what happened, interactive filters, definitely visualizations to a little bit less, but the similar. When you're sticking in the box, you're just saying out of the box components for responsive dashboards, it's really easy. Everybody can do it. It's everything you can do. Once you want to go custom, you're now writing custom Jelly, and it doesn't quite work the way that's out of the box. And I will say, when you're writing custom code for content blocks, it will not behave exactly like it does out of the box. It might look really close, but it doesn't behave exactly. There's some things we do in the back end that you don't have access to do. That's specifically for interactive filters. And if you look at custom interactive filters, the documentation will say all the restrictions. Some of those you actually can get around. It's just really complicated. So we say you can't, but you can if you figure it out. But there is a limit on what can and cannot happen. Visualizations, you can get pretty close as well. You can use your own visualization library. You can use high charts that's on there. But I want to caution you right now, today, in July of 2023, which I think is the right year. Be careful where you're investing in this, because it's true. I mean, you could do this stuff now, but for next experience components, those aren't going to come over. And one of the concepts that we put into next experience is the ability for you to customize and write everything we do. You could also do with a custom component. So we're shipping components. The developer site has an amazing amount of documentation on how the components are there. You can write your own components and build them just as good as we write them. And that's the difference when you're in the content blocks, the dynamic content blocks and widgets. There's a bunch of limitations that just are there. And in custom components, they're not. You can write something that we do as well. So if I'm building something today, I'd really want to question, do I want to invest this time and money for the next 6 months or next year? Until I get to next experience, or do I just want to invest in next experience? Can I delay my need for this right now to just build a next experience? With next experience components, the custom components, or all the components are it's pretty well documented on how it works, how you build it. It's React-like. It is not React, but it's very similar to that. If you built a React component, building a next experience component is not going to be too foreign of a language for you. And it's just going to be very robust, and you're able to do everything and then just use it in UIB. So that's my plug to say, I probably wouldn't do it today. I'd probably just look and spend some time figuring out how to do it right with next experience. It's going to be easier and better to do. For Jelly, if we were going to do a session on Jelly, I would definitely do it in the latter part of October, because Jelly gives everybody nightmares. It's one of the reasons we don't really use it anymore. It's rough. There's not a lot of great documentation out there. The community is, you definitely want to find the lab, and if we can't find the lab, we'll get it out there that walks you through, has an example. I had done I wrote the lab for it, and I wrote an app to help build some of these things, and I've written the templates and the macros. Be careful that you don't want to actually use dynamic content blocks. They're good for quick things, but you really want to write UI pages, I believe, with macros that gives you a little bit more processing in the Jelly is run in 2 stages, and it's run in 2 stages, and you want to be able to have access to both of those for different things. It's rough. It was a great idea 25 years ago, but we've just learned a lot, and technology's improved. So the next experience components do it the way they should. Jelly, somebody can correct me, but I believe Jelly was a language. It's not ServiceNow's. It's from Apache. So there are some generic Jelly resources that are out there. There are ServiceNow extensions to Jelly, specifically do like something like glide record query. Those are documented as well. There's a couple good sites that are out there. I thought they'd be referenced in the blog. If not, I should go update that. But it's there. Ask if you're ever getting stuck on something specific, go ahead and ask a question in the community. There are enough old timers out there that we can answer the questions on how do I do something specifically, what my challenge is. The more specific you are, the better. But again, the real point of my answer is I'm just going to discourage you from going down that path, because I don't want you to spend several months doing something that's going to be outdated next year. It's even outdated today, but definitely is going to be outdated next year.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Okay, I am going to attempt to take Jose off mute again. He came in with a different moniker. Did that work?
No, actually, Kavya came with Jose's name.
Oh.
Sorry about that. It's a long story, and I don't want to waste time on that one.
Okay, so you have questions.
Yes, I do.
Okay, Kavya, the floor
I
is
have
yours.
a list of questions, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so first thing I'm going to ask is about the threshold notifications. I think it triggers only after the job has run. right? That's when the threshold triggers. That's what is our understanding based on our testing. But we have a need where we need to trigger a notification every hour based on the update of the data every hour. So when we look into the indicator source configurations, so I think the starting frequency is daily, right? And when we try to change the logic to something like, something, the interactions that are created like in this hour, it seems it is not working. So ultimate summary, we want to be able to send a notification every hour to the user based on the operational data. So is that possible from the threshold notification? Or the better
No.
option is the schedule? No. Okay.
Yeah, the short. So I'll tell you, I could do it. You don't want to do what I was just running through that in my mind. You don't want to do it. Performance analytics, the smallest level of granularity is daily. You can do a breakdown hourly, but just you're gonna bend over backwards to get it to work. Where I would do would just be a scheduled flow that runs queries, and the scheduled flow just simply it simply says what the threshold is. And particularly you put in a decision table, it's going to be pretty lightweight, right? It's going to run a query for the number of interactions in the last hour. If it's over 25, over X, send this notification. Very simple to configure in Flow Designer. You can take other actions as well. You could have use a decision table to tier. If it's over 25, send it to this group. If it's over 50, send it to this group. If it's over 100, call the CIO, right? Whatever you want to do, and whether it is, I would just do it with a scheduled flow and a notification.
So you're talking about the reports scheduling option, right? Or
no, just straight flow design. So we're in analytics, but again, we want to use everything we have accessible. You could run a report. The reports you can run a report. Depends. Do you want to have a list of all the interactions? I mean, you can run a report, have it send a PDF, and there's a condition field on the report, which you can get it to work. There is a blog, which if somebody else can find it real quick, about emailing reports. And it's the way we did it in there would be pretty similar, but you definitely can do a condition just to say, if there are only send this report out if there's more than 25 open interactions. Right. And it would email the report of the 25. And if there's 24, it doesn't do anything. That's perfectly fine. I would probably just do it with, it depends if you want the list or not. But I'd probably do it with the flow and just say there are 25 open interactions. Click here to go see it. And that's going to give you the ability to use all your notifications and whether it's on mobile. Right. For me, I'm still trying to leverage mobile more rather than thinking email me a PDF that every hour that I'm not going to look at, alert me, let me click on, just log into the mobile app and see it and take action right there. So I would look at it as a very operational flow type thing, not a report, and definitely not performance analytics, because we're not trending this. PA, I might use I would build an indicator that breaks down by hours, the number of calls, the interactions, so I can see my trends and do that, but not for the use case you're talking about. If I want to be alerted, I'm going to leverage Flow Designer.
Okay, and at the report level, the threshold will be set per hour. We can get the visualization hourly, right? We can actually visualize how many interactions we have like per hour. And the threshold that we set always works per hour. How does that threshold setting work when we are talking about the visualization, the report? So does it automatically consider the threshold that we set at the hour, or should we do the scripting to actually do that?
Well, the threshold's on the performance analytics, so the report's not going to know about it. So yeah, I would do it in the condition. I'm just checking.
No, I'm talking about the conditional scheduling part.
Oh yeah,
I understood your one of the answers.
Yeah.
So one of the way to do it is flow designer. I got that.
Mhm.
I'm trying to clarify with the report scheduler option, the conditional
so
scheduling.
in the report scheduling option, Tara, I think you're sharing. I'm taking over scheduling. So hopefully we're going to show the right thing.
Go
Let's
for
see.
it.
All right. So I am in a new scheduled report. So if I had it doesn't matter what the report is.
Mhm.
What I have in there, incident client timing. You give it the name. That's what's going to be an email. You have your introductory message. This is the body of the email. And then you can say it's conditional. So if I did this, and I'm going to do periodically and once every hour. Right, it would send this out starting now. Well, it's going to send this report out every hour to these groups, users, that type of thing. Right, I'm going to do.
So isn't conditional scheduling will only send, even though repeat interval is 1 hour, when we do it conditional, doesn't it send out only when it breaches meets the condition or something?
Well, so that's what, yes, only when it meets the condition. So it's going to run every hour, and then I could do something. If GS somehow there's a function for get hour. I know we've seen it where it's only send it out Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. But one of the things that I would end up doing here would be I would do a glide aggregate. Interactions. So regardless of what my report is, we would do the same thing here. And I'm not doing this right, by the way, but it's okay. By the way, this is why I say we should use Flow Designer for some of this stuff, because you have to know a lot to be able to do this, right? Accounts. So this is going to give me a count of active interactions. I have my query, and then zero. So I'm going to say there's none. And then if we get a result back, which we should always get a result back, we'll set that to and then this is it. If C is greater than 0, I think this is return true and return false, or
I don't
know if it's answer.
I think there are some links. Okay, yeah, I can.
So yeah,
we'll try and explore the scripting part was also kind of tricky. That's where the team is currently exploring, but we can try and see. And I see some articles are there. We'll see if that is helpful.
Yeah, definitely will be in there. So the condition, and there's some help in here. The thing you want to do is make sure we understand what the condition is supposed to return. Whether it's the word answer, it's like an ACL, whether it's the word answer or the vast line has to be an answer, has to be the value, like a PA script. We want to validate that, but then the conditional, what happens is every hour it's going to run this. If it returns true, it will then run the report and email out the report to these groups, right? These users, and they'll get the full report. There is also, I don't know if we'll find it, a blog that talks to how do you embed this. So one of the features I like is to embed the text in here, unless we have that in here. Zip output. Yeah, so I get the PDF. This actually varies, depends on the report that comes through. But you could, yeah, we certainly could do that, and you get the report. And then you should be able to get that out there. And we're not using the thresholds in PA because that's going to be PA is designed to be daily, and you're looking for more operational.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Can I ask my next question? I also pasted on the chat. I don't know if you want to go based on the order of the questions that are okay. So the other, I think maybe this is one other specific questions that I have out of all I have. So we want to identify users who are submitting like same kind of queries often, even within a same month. Basically, we want to look at users who are without using the self-service. They're trying to I don't know, maybe it's not the self-service. It's really the users who are submitting the tickets for the same assignment group, if that way I can drill down a little bit. Let's call it, we call that repeat user, and we want to identify users who are submitting more than one ticket within a month or something. So is there a way we can actually create a KPI for this case? They want to do more from here to see why are they like trying to, when it's the same assignment group, it's really the same team who pretty much does the set of list of activities. It's just the different locations. That's the only difference when I say multiple location assignment groups. So basically we want to identify users who are repeatedly requesting the same thing. So is there anything that's already available, or is there a way we can actually create a KPI?
So I'd be concerned about creating an indicator on that. Indicators not hard, but it's the breakdowns, because you'd have to be breakdown by all users, and that just gives you a lot of things. I think in that case,
thing is, we can get it by the group by in the reporting solution. We can create a simple report, right? And we can actually sort it and see who are the people who are submitting more more requests. But the thing is, we want to kind of identify more towards the process improvement, right? If we have same set of people like doing the same thing in the last 3 months as well, compare between last 6 months to this months. So we want to get repeat users like that way to actually get that trending. Maybe PA is better option than the operational report. That's where we were trying to identify if we can have any PA solution for this.
So again, it's what are we going to trend on? What's the breakdown on it? Is it on specific users or the groups?
Users who are repeatedly actually.
And you want to get the names of the users to see that.
I want the count of users, but I want those users who are who have, let's say, created more than one ticket in a month. I can get only distinct user if I use it, but I don't know how do we get the user, only those count of users who are logging more than one ticket in a specific period of time.
So what you would look at there would be a related list condition on the indicator. So I would do an indicator on sys user, and then the related list condition on incidents or cases, whatever the table is, I mean, task for that matter, where I'm the caller in the last month. So it would only give you a count of users, of distinct users who did submit more than 3 cases in the last month. Now, it's not going to group by what the cases are. Like, I mean, is it any case? It's just I submitted 3 cases a month, or is it 3 cases for database and a case for network and a case for database are different?
Sorry, ask your question again.
Yeah. So when you're saying multiple cases, do they have to be? If I submitted 2 cases, one for the network group, one for the database group, do you want to see that, or do you want to see? Does it have to be 2 for database is different than 1 for database, 1 for network?
Yeah, I want to see if it is 2 for database group.
Only for the same group.
Yes.
Yeah.
That could be a breakdown, Adam. The assignment group could be a breakdown, and then you just do distinct count of users with this condition. Who has more than?
Well, but then and who has,
or something, right? That you can
and who has more than? That's the challenge that would come in. I don't see the value of trending the usernames. And but I could see, I guess I could see the database has a lot of people who keep submitting multiple things. The part I might look at would be automation discovery.
I don't need the username. I still need the count of users. When I click to that, I will see, I mean, obviously further detailing will happen with the show records. There we see like more details, but I want to trend on count of users who are submitting
Okay.
more tickets. Yeah, for the same group.
And so if we did the relay list condition, it's only multiples. And so you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a network and database and two database. The related list condition doesn't run on the indicator, only runs on the indicator source. I would probably solve this by using a table and just throwing them in a table and then putting PA on the table.
Okay.
Yeah, if we don't have it, maybe we can get back to you or talk, because we do have one more question that we need to answer live and then go through wrapping up. So maybe we should think about that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think for this one, I think it's if we I would do it with the flow, and I would do it with another table and summarize them in there, and then it's really quick to come off of. Otherwise, I think it's just always the double filtering is what gets really weird. It's an interesting metric. Sorry, and the other part I would look at for what you're trying to solve would be automation discovery, because at the end of the day, we're trying to find out where are issues where we're doing this, right? Where people are submitting the same thing over and over again. And that might be really interesting to see. Automation discovery might find that out. Some of the machine learning tools do some of this analysis for us. So I don't know of that one specifically of what you're looking for. Automation discovery is the closest one in my mind. But also make sure you're taking a look at the tools that we have for machine learning and AI, which is constantly evolving at this point in time, to start looking for those things and a different way of looking at where are our gaps, where are our problems.
And Josh put something in the chat that might be relevant. So if you want to just review that, and let's move on to Faisal's question. Dan was going to take live.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask Faisal, could you also come off mute? And could we get Faisal off mute? And I want to get a clarification.
Yeah,
but the question for the group, I'll throw it out there and then let Faisal expand upon it. The PA breakdowns are sometimes different and are only applicable to one or some tabs on the dashboard. And how can we make the dynamic breakdowns on a PA dashboard for a better user experience? So Faisal, I wanted to make sure, what are you talking about, making the breakdowns themselves, whether or not they're applied dynamic, or whether it's just you want to make the breakdowns apply to multiple tabs or something like that?
I think this one's a challenge with responsive dashboards, that dashboard breakdowns appear on across all tabs. Interactive filters only are on tab specific. And I think this is another one of those things that's been resolved in Next Experience dashboards.
Exactly.
Right.
That was going to be, that's kind of why I wanted to clarify the question.
As far as I understand this one to come through, and if we're misinterpreting it, awesome. Yes, Dan's showing it now that there's no more dashboard breakdowns and interactive filters. They're just filters. They work on both as they can. And you now have the choice of saying, do I want it across all the tabs or tab specific? Something we always get asked, it comes through. And one of the ways that that the PM team and our Amsterdam crew and our India crew really delivered to give us what we're looking for.
Thanks, Adam. My internet connection is bad. So.
And that's not, as we talk about some of these things that are resolved in, are addressed in Next Experience, don't look for them to be ported back into responsive dashboards. Because part of this was there's so much legacy, there's so much things. These features are not going to go back in time. The way we get these features is by moving to Next Experience Analytics. You won't see a list of all the awesomeness that's in there because there's too much. We talk about the big features that come through, but whether it's how the filters work, the filters could be at the tab level or the dashboard level. They're going to find a bunch of things that are near and dear to your heart that are awesome. But you're just not going to see that exhaustive list because it's just so much has been improved. Everything you can do to get onto the Next Experience Analytics is going to be to your benefit. Your life will be easier and simpler and less hectic once you are there.
And Faisal, this is actually available starting pre-Tokyo, but Tokyo is where the Next Experience dashboards are available to you. Now, the migration that we're going to have for you is scheduled to become an available option in Washington. But that obviously you need to put the safe harbor disclaimer. It could, that can change, but that is the current plans, to have that migration available starting in Washington. But you have the capability today with Tokyo.
Yeah. So we did have a couple more questions trickle in. They're all regarding training content. I don't know if we have any documentation on AI just yet. I know we're working on that. Adam, can you answer that?
The machine learning's there. So there is new generative AI stuff coming out all the time, but the machine learning things look for predictive intelligence, and you'll see it. Search the docs, it'll come up. But look for predictive intelligence, and that's the name of the application we use. That is most of our machine learning.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for joining us today. This was incredible. I love having these Q&A sessions every once in a while, kind of shake things loose and get people caught up on what's going on and kind of answer questions that other people might have too. So we had a lot of synergy with that today. So thank you. Let me just set out a quick reminder to check out our platform analytics community page. We have lots of content there. You can always post questions there, as well as our Platform Analytics Academy community page has all of the recordings. Today's session will be posted there, as well as prior sessions. And they're going back all the way to 2019. So some of the stuff is actually still relevant because some things we haven't changed. So it's always worth combing through there and checking things out. In addition, we have some pro tips. We have a community page out there that gives you some tips or tricks for best leveraging performance analytics, what it's intended to be used for, how we think you'll get the most power from it. So if you get a chance, check out these videos. They're like maybe 5-6 minutes each, pretty short, easy to get through, and not also to remind you that we do have in-depth training and labs in Now Learning. We were just talking about that. There should be some cool stuff out there with all the new tech that we're coming out with. Thank you for joining us today. Everybody have a wonderful day.